The first book I remember reading on my own was Matilda by Roald Dahl.
Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
Stella Luna by Janelle Cannon. I was always bugging my parents to read it to me. I remember how excited I was when I was finally able to sit down with it on my lap and work out the words for myself. I finally had proof that they hadn't just made the whole thing up, and I was thrilled. Okay, maybe a little disappointed too.
The first book that made me need to read everything else by that same author was The Goose Girl by Shannon Hale.
The Black Stallion by Walter Farley.
Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen is the first book that I literally had to have everything I could find by the author. Not only did I read all of the novels, it was like one summer and I read everything, but I also bought her letters and her unfinished work, and then the obsession goes on because I will read anything that is in the style of Austen, including quiz books and, perspectives from different characters and anything. It's an obsession, but I don't care to stop ever.
The first book I read through in one sitting was The Giver by Lois Lowry.
If I Die Before I Wake by Francine Pascal.
Paper Towns by John Green. It was my first experience with John Green, and I just couldn't put it down. I told myself I'd just read a few chapters, then end of the day, end of the book, all of a sudden, I was done.
The first book that made me need to buy every copy that I could find of it was Pride and Prejudice.
Pride and Prejudice.
Pride and Prejudice.
Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. Okay, maybe not every copy that I see, but at least the ones that are a little bit different than the ones I already have. And there's still a couple other ones on my wish list.
First book that I carried around for months on end was Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
The Ultimate Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams.
Once Upon a Marigold by Jean Ferris. And this is a library book, so I actually don't know how many times I ended up rechecking it out or renewing it in order to keep reading it over and over again, but I never got sick of it. It was an original fairy tale about a little boy who's adopted by a troll and a little princess who's just really lonely. And it was so funny and friendly, and it played with the genre, so it felt like I wasn't carrying around a book. It felt like I was carrying around a bunch of friends.
The first book that made me want to cry and cry and cry was Looking for Alaska by John Green.
Water for Elephants by Sarah Gruen.
Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Cedric Diggory was my first character death, and man, I was not prepared for that.
The first book that made me want to be in publishing was The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald.
First book that made me want to write was Voyage of the Dawn Treader by C.S. Lewis.
The first book that made me realize that I could be a writer was Monsters of Templeton by Laura Groff. It was said that she had written a love letter to her hometown, my hometown. It was the first time that I picked up a book and realized that writing and being in publishing was an absolutely tangible prospect. It was very exciting.
We're proof that a child's first book can have a profound influence on their life.
But many kids living in poverty don't have access to books that can set them on a path to literacy.
First Book has distributed over 100 million books to disadvantaged children in North America.
Improving their educational opportunities so that they can fall in love with reading and learning just like we did.
You can help First Book by donating at the link below. A $10 donation gets 5 books to kids that need them.
Make sure to like this video and tell us in the comments about your first book. Also head over to projectforawesome.com to see the other charity videos going out today.
Until next time, be thankful for your first book.